Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Hannah and let's talk books. I really feel like I haven't done a reading vlog in quite a while. Like the last ones I remember were like from Halloween. Has it really been that long? But I have book mail and I already pulled off the label so I didn't accidentally flash my address. So there's only one book this could possibly be. You've already seen the title. You know what it is. I thought it would just be fun to open it on camera kind of thing. So let's see if I can. I also have no idea what cover this is going to be. I've seen two different ones and I'm not sure which one it's going to be. Also see which bookmark I get here. Oh, I can already see that the cover is a little damaged. Oh, that's not cool. Oh, okay, it was the cover that I thought it was going to be. So here it is. I'm going to be reading How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. And the cover is slightly damaged. It's folded over there. Oh, that's a pet peeve of mine, but at least it's not too bad. And then what? Oh, I got this stupid bookmark again. I got another Verity bookmark that is probably just going to go in the trash because I have no interest in this book. So anyway, this is actually a bit thicker than I was expecting. How many pages are here? Oh, almost 400. Wow. So if you don't know, Grady Hendrix is a horror author, but he's not traditional horror. He's more campy horror. Definitely puts humor in all of his books. And I've actually read 3 of his books previously. I thought it was only 2, but I'd forgotten about one of them. So this will actually be my 4th book by this author, which might actually make him my most read author, which is slightly depressing in a way. But I have previously read the Southern Book Club's, actually no, let me say it in the order I read them. First I read My Best Friend's Exorcism, which was the best one out of the 3 I read. I gave that 4 stars. Then I read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, I believe the title is, and I only gave that a 2. And then I read The Final Girls Support Group, which is probably one of the most mid books I've ever read, and I gave that a 3. They also had one of the most annoying characters I've ever read. So I've literally rated his books like 2, 3, and 4. Nothing has been the same thing twice. So I'm really curious where this is gonna land. Like, could this be the 5-star? I really love haunted house books. Like, it's probably one of my favorite subgenres of horror, if not the favorite. So it's a possibility. So I'm just kind of going to give a basic gist of this book because I don't want to read the description again. It's been a few months. So going into this, all I pretty much know is that it's a brother and sister. Their parents die, and I think it is over COVID. Like, I think COVID is kind of mentioned in here, if I'm not mistaken, or at least some sort of pandemic. And the washer machine is starting up again. I can hear it in the background. I apologize if you can too. So the parents pass and they're left with this house that they have no idea what to do with, so they want to try to sell it. However, when they go to kind of inspect it and everything, it has like newspapers on the windows, boards on the windows kind of thing. I think like all the windows and mirrors are covered kind of deal. Like what you would typically see in a house where something was not quite right. And I guess stuff kind of happens from there. They figure out why their parents had done this to the house kind of thing. So there is that sort of like underlying mystery of like, why is it like this already? I actually do prefer the other cover, but it really doesn't bother me much. And there's actually a blurb from Paul Tremblay here. That's kind of interesting. So pretty much my only expectations going into this is I hope it's a haunted house story. I don't want any tricks when it comes to that. I really want it to be a haunted house, and oh my god, why does the laundry have to be so loud right now? I also want the campiness from My Best Friend's Exorcism. That was my favorite book of his, and I really enjoyed the camp in there. I thought it had like just the right amount, and there were also some scenes in there that were insanely brutal and actually scary. Like, they would come out of nowhere and be like, holy shit. It was like a major tone shift kind of thing. So I'm really looking for that in here. So that's really kind of it. I really just want to kind of jump into it and just see where it takes me kind of thing. So tonight, in just a few hours, I will actually be heading over to my library for an event because they're starting this new series that has to do with like climate change and stuff, and tonight is the very first meeting. So I'm gonna go check that out, and I'm also returning some books and picking up a few other ones kind of thing as well. So I probably won't be able to start this. Oh, that is the back cover. Won't be able to start this till probably when I read, like before bed kind of thing. So I probably won't update until tomorrow, but I will give my first impressions then. I had a little time before I had to go, so I figured I would at least get this started. So I've read the first 2 chapters, which is about 25 pages into it, and this really isn't what I was expecting at all. Pretty much there's the 1 chapter, and then there's a, I don't know, not title page, I don't know what you would call it, but it says denial. And so I'm wondering if we're gonna go through the 5 stages, I think it is, of grief here, which would be interesting. There are several things I didn't realize here, and maybe it says in the description, but like I said, I didn't want to read it again. The point of view we're following so far is the sister, Louise, and she doesn't talk to her brother Mark at all. I guess it's been 3 years since they've spoken, kind of thing. But this book actually starts out with Louise telling her parents she's pregnant, and I'm just like, oh, why? Like, I really wasn't expecting there to be like a child involved in this book, and I'm not really happy about that. And also, since she's not talking with her brother or anything, and she was basically the perfect one while he was like the screw up, like it's that kind of stereotype. So it's just like shitty family dynamics. And I really wasn't wanting that from this either. For some reason, I thought they were like really close. So we know the whole time going into this, they're gonna be like arguing with each other and all this fucking shit. And I'm just not into that. So, like, she announces to her parents she's pregnant and she's not with the dad or whatever. And the chapter literally ends with it being like, she gets 5 more years with her parents kind of thing. Like, it says, they would have years. As it turned out, she got 5. And then we start into chapter 2, which is her interacting with her daughter that she named Poppy, of all things. Like, to me, it sounds like she's naming a dog with that. But pretty much that whole chapter is just her brother calling her and being like, hey, our parents died. And apparently they got into a car accident. He said they were T-boned. I don't know if that's the truth or not, so I guess COVID isn't a thing here. So I don't know where the hell I got that from. He says they were T-boned, and he starts going into some of like the more gruesome details, like saying the mom's arm got chopped off and stuff, and it's like, why the fuck are you talking about that? He's the one that gives her the news, and so then she gets ready to fly out there, and that's really all that's happened so far. So pretty much it's just kind of set up the scene, their family dynamics and everything with each other, and I'm not liking it so far. And like I said, it really isn't starting out how I was expecting. This isn't the vibe I thought it was going for. There's absolutely no campiness or humor here whatsoever, and I feel like these first 2 chapters are really gonna hit home with some people, with the brother sister and with how the mom especially treats the daughter. I was just like, oh, this is gonna be some heavy shit for some people. So it's starting off a lot more serious than I thought it was going to be. And so I feel like this is really going to be like a family issue, family coming together type book. And that's not what I was wanting. So we'll see how it ends up going. Hopefully it picks up quickly, but it's a really long book. So I'm kind of dreading that it'll be one of those where you have to read 100 pages to really get to anything happening. For now, the child's out of the picture, and I really hope it stays that way. I just don't want to have to deal with like child in a haunted house situation kind of thing. So now I'm going to get ready to head out, and I'll probably read more of that tonight. But God, why do we have to start off like that? I want the camp. Bring me the camp. So I should be back tomorrow with another update, and hopefully a better one. So I actually wasn't able to read like I wanted to before, so I didn't get to read more of this until I was in bed last night. And what chapter am I even on? I am on chapter 7 now. I'm on page 68, so got a bit more through, and I am enjoying it a little bit more. However, not much has happened still, so I definitely think this is going to be one of those books where not much happens for the first 100 pages. It's going to be like all set up kind of deal. So these siblings are ready to have a fucking fist fight. Like, they're ready to go at each other. And Mike in particular is a fucking horrible person. Like, completely unlikable character. Louise, or however you say her name, she's okay. She hasn't really done anything, so I don't really have any like major problems with her. Yeah, I don't think either of these characters are going to be particularly likable. And one thing that I really wasn't expecting in here is when she goes into the house for the first time, that's when we really find out that her mom was really into dolls and puppets. So they are completely everywhere in the house. And as far as horror goes, I don't want to say subtle, because it definitely wasn't subtle at all. Is very like obvious, but it isn't something that's particularly scary necessarily. So there has been a few little horror things happening, but it's very like stereotypical, nothing new. And the camp that's usually in his stories hasn't been here at all so far. There has been like absolutely zero humor. I'm not sure if the dolls and puppets, if we're supposed to find them humorous or anything, but they really aren't so far. So far this seems like a very serious book, especially for Grady Hendrix. And since that isn't really what I was expecting or wanting, it does feel a bit meh so far, especially since like not much is happening. I'm just ready for the book to really get going, because like at almost 400 pages, I really feel like this is gonna just get drawn out, and I'm just ready for some spooky shit, really. So I'll definitely be reading more of it today, but I think this might be one that I read a bit slower than normal, so there might be like a few days between like updates and stuff. Maybe, I'm not sure, I don't know. It kind of depends on if this gets more interesting or not. And also, even the writing style, I'm finding a bit more dull than normal for him. Like, just thinking back to my best friend's exorcism, I just remember it being obviously campy, but just a fun time on top of it. And a lot more quick-paced as well. Like, that's definitely a shorter book than this. So like reading this, I'm just like, oh, this feels like it's gonna be a slog. So I'm really hoping that won't be the case. I think I just really have to get through these first 100 pages for the story to really take off, which unfortunately is a downside. But we just got back a little bit ago from actually going out to lunch. We went to a Korean place called Olive Chicken. We've had their food a few times at like Korean food festivals and stuff, and it's so freaking good. It's really good. And I've seen some reviews say it's like the most authentic Korean food in Paris, so that makes it even better. But yeah, I'm just hoping the more I get into this book, the more I enjoy it, because it needs to start giving me something now. So, another night of reading, and I am to chapter 17, I believe it is. Yeah, page 166. So I read about 100 pages last night. And I'm not finding this book scary, I am finding it rage-inducing. So the brother, Mark, I hate him. He is definitely one of the worst characters I've ever read. And I was gonna say maybe the worst, but then I remembered I read Lolita, and so nothing can beat Humbert there. And what are these noises happening outside? And when I say worst, I don't mean like poorly written, I mean he's an asshole. He is a fucking dick. And he is doing everything in his power to make everyone's lives miserable. Everything he's doing is just to spite his sister, and I cannot stand it. Oh my god. Like, toxic family just gets under my skin so much and pisses me off. And this guy is doing it. So at this point in the story, I literally want the puppets and dolls or whatever is happening to win. I want them to just fuck him up and win in the end. Like, that's really the ending I'm looking for at the moment. The sister, Louise, she's pretty much the same as she's been throughout the whole book, but I feel like something is about to happen that's gonna spin her in another light. The last chapter I read, the very last sentence like changes a lot of stuff, and it just basically dropped a bombshell. It's literally a 2-word sentence, and it's just like, oh, what is going on? I am looking forward to reading more just because I need to know what that means exactly. I feel like I'm having a love-hate relationship with this book so far, in that like I want to read more and know what's happening in the story and what the fuck is going on with this house. But I'm also like, I hate these characters. They make me cringe. They make me angry, and I just don't want to spend time with them anymore. And like every time Mark in particular walks into a scene, I'm just like, oh, not again. What bullshit are you gonna say now? And so obviously this is turning out a lot different than I was expecting going in, where I thought there would be like humor and horror. It's just anger. As far as like that campiness that Grady Hendrix is known for, It's really not here, but there is like subtle humor because some of the scenes that have happened have just been absolutely ridiculous. And so it could be seen as humorous in that aspect just for the pure ridiculousness of what is happening. But nothing is like, haha, that's funny kind of thing. And so the main thing with this book is obviously family ties, family bonds, like all of that kind of stuff. And honestly, that's not something I really enjoy in books. Like, I don't really care about family dynamics. I don't really care if you and your sibling hate each other. Like, I don't really want to read about that. This is definitely a lot more family oriented than I really wanted it to be. And like, honestly, if it goes the route of like, oh, we trauma bonded and now we're gonna be BFFs at the end, like, I think I'll throw up kind of thing. But because this author is who he is, I'm really hoping he's gonna flip the script at the end and maybe we will get a bad ending kind of thing. I'm really gunning for that. And obviously you won't know because I'm not gonna say any spoilers in the end, but you might have hints on how much I end up enjoying it in the end. So today is Sunday, and so it's pretty much like a do nothing type of day. So I'm probably going to read more of this during the day instead of just at night. And how I said before, like how I think maybe I'll read it slower, I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm almost halfway through. I feel like I need some answers. So I don't think I'm gonna finish it today kind of thing, but I feel like I'll probably knock out another 100 pages, maybe 150 kind of thing. Oh, she's purring. Oh, why are you doing that? Hmm? It's your baby girl. What you doing? She's cute. She doesn't know what she's doing. Look at her. Aww. She doesn't know where to put her footie. You're so cute. That is fucked up. What the fuck is going on? Usually I wouldn't do this, but I was just kind of filming a little montage of me reading, and I happened to start it at the beginning of a really fucked up scene. And I know I talked before how, like, in my best friend's exorcism, for example, how he likes to have humor, and then all of a sudden there's like a really straight up horror scene that is just so surprisingly disturbing, and that is exactly what just happened here. Oh my god. I was definitely not expecting that. And that one really, really got me. Like, my eyes were tearing up because it involved eyes and stuff. And yeah, oh my god, what the fuck just happened? I am now in chapter 24, page 248. I think that's what it is. Yes. And this book is definitely too long. I think it's really gonna feel like that at the end because it's already starting to feel like that now. And we're learning a lot of stuff. Like, I feel like the past at least 50 pages has just been like a huge backstory dump. And so while we've learned a lot and like the siblings are bonding and whatever, it's a bit much. Like, especially with what happens with the brother, it's too much. I know it's like haunted puppets or whatever the fuck is happening, but still, I feel like it takes it a little too far. But I feel like my feelings with this book are just flip-flopping so much because the first 150 pages, it's really not much. Like, nothing is happening. I'm really not enjoying it. The characters are just making me angry, or at least the Mark character was. And then it gets interesting and something scary actually happens. And I'm like, oh yes, like we're finally getting into this. And then all that stops for like this huge backstory dump. And now I'm to where I think they're gonna start doing stuff and things gonna start happening again. I hope more scary shit happens, because if not, then there's really not much of it in this book. But like, I need more stuff to happen, because if not, this just feels kind of pointless. But right now, I really have like fingers crossed that I enjoy how this ends, because I feel like that's really gonna make or break this book for me on whether I enjoyed it or whether I just think it's average. It's just weird. I think the writing style also has a little bit to do with it. I don't think it's an interesting style, but it's so hard to put into words, like how weird this feels. But I think I'm definitely stopping there for now. I will probably read more when I get in bed tonight, but yeah, I kind of had to stop myself because I feel like I could just keep reading, but I don't know, I'm almost kind of feeling bored with it, so I definitely want to take a break from it for a little bit. We'll see how it goes tomorrow. So I'm a bit dumb, and I read more of the book last night, and for some reason thought I'd already updated you. Like in my mind, I read it, so that meant I updated, right? But obviously I haven't, because I read it right before bed, so like, I don't know what my logic was there, but I was just like doing something over there, and I was just like, wait, I need to update before we go out tonight, because tonight we have a concert actually, but I'll talk about that a bit more later. So I am on something. Chapter 29, page 296, which means I have almost exactly 100 chapters left. I am in the depression part of the 5 stages of grief sections that there are. And so last night I read what seems like the climax of the book. It really felt like we are tying everything up and ending the book. And was it the last chapter? Yeah, the last chapter I read, like the very last sentence, like once again, could have ended the book there. If he ended it right there, I would have been like, oh, and I would have been fine with it. However, there's 100 pages left. And I'm just like, no, I'm ready for the story to be over. Why are we having to track this out another 100 pages? Like, we're at 300 pages. Let that be the end. And like, it wouldn't be a happy ending, so like, it'd be fine. Like, just let it be. Now we're gonna get into stuff that I think I'm not going to like as much, which is frustrating. I didn't want to go back to these characters kind of thing. So I'm a bit miffed that I still have to read this. The scenes I read last night were definitely more brutal. Like, this is definitely the part of the book where it's like we're forgetting everything else and we're just going for brutality now. And I enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was interesting. However, it does kind of do that trope of like, it's the main character, they're invincible kind of thing. And it's just like, there's so many moments where I'm just like, holy shit, like they should not be moving still kind of thing, but they still are able to do stuff that even an average person might have difficulty with. And so it's just like, okay, come on a bit. It's like they're superhero almost. But I am a bit over the plot in general. I'm really just ready for this book to be done. And I will say, at least at this point, it's not doing the, oh, the siblings bonded and now they're just going to be happily ever after kind of thing. That's not happening at all, at least for now, and hopefully it stays that way. So I am glad of that. So far, I think I would compare this the most to the Southern Book Club's Guide to Vampire Slaying or Hunting or whatever the heck it's called, which is the one I gave 2 stars. And I feel like with that, saying that, it means I'm going to be leaning more toward 3 stars for this in the end. But that all really, really depends on these last 100 pages, I guess. Because, like, since I feel like I'm checked out right now, this book pretty much has to convince me to be into it again and care about these characters. And that's gonna be a tall order, I think. So I really think I'm gonna be finishing this either tonight or tomorrow. Like I said, we have a concert tonight, so I'm not exactly sure how much time I'll actually have to read. We're going to see Ailstorm, not Hailstorm, Ailstorm, no H. It is a pirate metal band, and there are 3 openers, one of them being Windrose, which is like the real reason we're going, but Toma used to listen to Ailstorm a lot, so he'll know more of the songs than I will. There's 4 bands playing total, and Ailstorm is the headliners. There is Rum Ahoy and Glory Hammer are the other ones. and I think Ramahoy will be the first one that goes. They're also pirate metal. Then Glory Hammer and Windrose are also similar to each other. Glory Hammer is like power metal, but if they were singing about D&D campaigns kind of thing. Like that's what they look like, and that's what their songs seem to be with the lyrics. And then Windrose, the band basically like cosplays as dwarves. Like the one song we really want to see live from them is called Diggy Hole, and it's literally about dwarves digging holes in mountains kind of thing. Like it's really funny, and the music is good. So like 3 out of 4 of these bands were good with seeing, and I feel like it's going to be impossible to be bored kind of thing. I just feel like the energy is just going to be really high, and it's just going to be a ridiculous fun time basically. But since there are 4 bands playing, I feel like we're going to get back pretty late, so we'll see how much of the book I end up getting through tonight. This is not going how I wanted it to, really. Well, I finished it! Yay! And guess what my rating is? Like, let me hear you guess. My rating is a 3. I feel like that's not really surprising here, but basically I finished this last night because 2 nights ago when we had the concert, I didn't get into bed till past midnight, so there was no way at all I was going to read this. But I'm actually kind of glad for the little break because it ended up being like 48 hours of me not reading this. And I'm happy about it because this book is very repetitive. Those last 100 pages basically felt like the middle 200 all over again. It was like the exact same storyline, just with a few different characters kind of thing. And having that little break in between helped me, I don't want to say enjoy it more, but helped me get through it. And in one sitting too, kind of thing. Like, I just really wanted to finish this book. So in the end, like I said before, I definitely think this is way too long of a book. 400 pages is too much. I think 300 would have been perfect, especially how I said that one chapter ended. I think that would have been a perfect ending. But then we just went into the same fucking cycle we'd already done, and it didn't do anything better than it did the first time around. So it was like, all right, I'm ready for this to be done. So in the end, when it comes to the style of this book, I see a lot of comments saying this is a typical Grady Hendrix book. However, I feel like campy horror, there's a fine line there. I feel like the formula is a bit difficult to achieve. So I feel like this did not hit the mark in those terms. The story itself was very, very ridiculous, yet too serious at the same time. Like, I just feel like it didn't balance those two aspects well enough, because the ridiculousness went into the territory of this just isn't scary. Because one of my favorite things about, like, my best friend's exorcism, for example, is how there's those brutal scenes that are really just like, okay, this is a horror kind of thing, where it's just like hits you in the face and is just such a reminder of what genre the book actually is. And that only happened for me once here. And with how long this freaking thing is, like, it just seems like it would have happened more. So I am disappointed in that aspect as well, because as much as I did love the ridiculousness, like, the puppet ended up being my favorite character, which I think is funny, and I'm not going to say anything about how this ends or anything like that, but I just thought there was going to be more reason behind why the characters were the way they are. And unfortunately, there wasn't. It wasn't what I was wanting. Those first 100 pages, there's no camp at all. Like, there's no humor. It's so fucking serious. Like, I was literally asking myself, like, is this a Grady Hendrix book? Like, what the hell? So the first 100 pages of this, nothing happens. You can literally probably just skip them and just get right to the good stuff and miss nothing kind of thing. And one thing about this particular copy of the book, the font is so small. Like, I don't know if you can see very well, like, how tiny this font is, but I hate it. So, like, it felt like I was going through this book so freaking slow. Like, I would read for an hour, and I would just be like, I feel like I made no freaking progress, because it would take me forever just to read 2 pages kind of thing. So if you do want to pick this up, I don't recommend this copy. This is the international paperback edition or something like that. I got it from Book Depository, and I've seen some people have like huge like hardcover editions of this where it has a different cover. So I would probably recommend that, because yeah, like, this one is not fun to read. Also, I'm curious about how the quality of the audiobook would be, because this story, even though it didn't work for me in this format, in book form, I actually think this would be super fucking creepy as a movie. Like, I 100% think this will eventually be turned into a movie. I guess, like, My Best Friend's Exorcism did, but that one was horrible, and I haven't watched it. I've only heard bad things about it, so I refuse. So I think this one would definitely be on the list next to be adapted, and I really think a movie format would do it a lot more justice than the book. So overall, I'm left a bit disappointed, because this was one of my most anticipated books for 2023. I actually pre-ordered it in January of 2022, because it was originally supposed to be a 2022 release. So I had pre-ordered it over a year before it actually ended up in my mailbox. So, and I never do that. So it was just kind of like, yeah, it wasn't worth doing that, I guess. But the reason I did it is because it was on sale. This was only like $10. So I mean, I'll take it. Who would actually enjoy this book? I feel like if you are a huge Grady Hendrix fan, like have read all his books, loved all of them kind of thing, then I think then you'll obviously like this one. And that's really the only thing I can think of. To me, this wasn't scary, so I feel like your average horror fan wouldn't enjoy this. But I have no idea. I'm just stating my own opinions. So unfortunately, my first reading vlog of 2023 did not go as well as I thought. And Grady Hendrix is, I guess, kind of a mid-author for me. I don't think I will pre-order or get right away his next book. I think that's kind of gonna be how I'll go with his releases moving forward, is just wait until they're available in the library kind of thing, or if they're like a cheap ebook kind of thing. And that is all, unfortunately. That's just how it went this time. So as always, thank you for hanging out with me. It is greatly appreciated. And until next time, bonne journée and au revoir.